captured some of what happened.
What's up, everybody? This is Joseph R. Wheeler III, artist, founder, and president of the Honest Con Foundation. Today we have a very controversial reaction video. Controversial in the sense that the events that we are going to speak on and what has already transpired in my hometown, in my city, in my stomping grounds of ATL, Metro ATL, but it's specifically in the city, the show enough city of Atlanta, Georgia, where Honest Con was founded, where I was born and raised, where I've seen this city evolve and devolve in some ways. And recently, we have been hosting for over, 2 months, the World Cup. Whenever there were actual games played in Atlanta, whenever there were games played anywhere else, there's a thing called Fan Fest, and people could go out and watch the game at this particular venue of the Centennial Olympic Park, if you're not familiar. And I actually have some footage where I went to Fan Fest. Had a great time, had a wonderful time. It was just fine. It was everything I expected it to be. There's an ongoing concert. There's ongoing activities for people to get involved in. The huge corporate sponsors have little games and giveaways and things. And security, when I say was tight, you could not get into the park if you have a bag that is not see-through. And even if your bag is see-through, you better only have certain items in it or you will be turned around. There were lockers that you had to pay for to put your things in if you come unexpected, knowing that you didn't, not knowing that you had to not bring certain things. You could go put your stuff in those lockers, whatever. I had to go all the way back to my car where I parked and come back to the park. I'm speaking from experience. If you haven't seen my video, check it out. Like I say, it'll give you an example of how this thing was really tight run. And then when I walked in, I noticed the immense, and I do mean immense, police force that was surrounding the park, inside the park. They let their presence be known, and you knew there wasn't gonna be no foolish up in here, right? Or at least so I thought. Nothing could ever happen under so much conditioning. But with recent events that have taken place, okay, I realized, what the hell? So all this interrogation and you better come correct was only displayed towards, other black people by black law enforcement. Because I want to say that too. I hate to say a stereotype, but I'm just going to tell it like it is. We can only speak of what it was, when it was, and how it was. I may have counted one white officer the whole time I was at Fan Fest. All of the hired security and all of the official Atlanta police were black officers. They, for the most part, like I say, as far as the hired folk, were not the best people to be doing what they were doing. And as far as the regular, they're just typical, eye you up and down, check you out and keep it moving kind of thing. Whatever, what I expected, right? But if you haven't seen how there were literal brawls at not only Fan Fest, but also at Underground Atlanta, I want to make sure I clarify that some of these things I'm going to show y'all happened at two different events, but it was still tied to festivities for the World Cup being in town. And then there were other events that I'm going to show y'all clips of that happened in the hotel areas surrounding right near Centennial Olympic Park. Matter of fact, you can see all that in some of my videos so you'll know where you were at. This is a mess. And I think the main thing that pisses me off is to see that people can come from other places and literally riot, have their feuds, get into the streets and cause absolute mayhem. And even though I'm sure arrests were made, not enough for my pleasure for knowing that my city was protected, that people who actually live here can feel like if you're gonna give us hell all the time, ain't sure as hell ain't nobody gonna come from somewhere else and just do whatever they want, run roughshod over Atlanta. But that's exactly, from what I can gather from these videos, more or less happened. And it's very disturbing to see how the hammer comes down locally, but not when international is involved, and not when people who are literally notorious for being, white nationalists, racist, who, not saying everyone from Argentina, because that's what I'm talking about, the Argentine fans in particular. Not saying everybody's on that. I've met Argentinians that were very nice, very sweet, very cool people, Shout out to the ones I met in Mexico, okay? Especially the ladies. Wonderful, right?
And then say, and I want you to say, okay, that's the name of the channel. You remember that? Okay. But you can say it with the mic. And she is like the third Argentinian I met here, but then I met some other ones over on I was in Playa del Carmen.
Ah, yeah.
So yeah, and there's a lot of I was like, what did the whole country come over here? Like,
But I know the other ways things can be, and it's amazing to witness how people can act a straight up fool and get away with it, or be given the light hand of force. Still given force, but the light hand of it. What, because y'all out of towners? What, because you're from this white nationalist country that is backed by the maniac in charge and who's in bed with the head of the organization that brings in this sports event in the first place? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Is that you're worried that your boss is going to say, we can't mess with them, they're untouchables? Really? So they can call you the N-word? But I will give credit to the one officer, as you will see in this video that I'm going to show. He went for his. He was like, I'm going to let you know one thing about me personally. You're not going to disrespect me. Like, what you doing not only could get you arrested regularly, but it's going to get you an ass whooping. And he commenced to do so. So shout out to that officer for putting down the hammer that I would expect from Atlanta PD. Okay, and especially when anyone directly insults you to your face. There's no telling how bad the insults were, because he was going in. And for him to do what he was doing, he was definitely mad for good reason. And you can see that the female officers are trying to subdue him, but he don't care. He like, look, I don't care if I get fired tomorrow. I'm gonna go out with a bang. You gonna put it on my record. This is why I went, and this is what he did, and that's why I reacted the way I reacted. Damn it! And you can see other fans trying to get involved and will not listen to the female officers pushing them away. Like, first of all, you're touching officers. I don't know of nowhere in the United States of America that you can get away with that with ease. I'll just say it like that, because I've had my own moments where in youth, you know, I'm lucky to be here, I'll just say. And I hadn't done anything wrong. I was just a little simple about how that works. But I got cussed the hell out by a cop one time in New York for me pretty much telling him to calm down, because he was disrespecting me and being racially profiling and a whole bunch of other BS. But that's a whole nother story for another time. I just want to make the point that because of my personal experiences, and that have been so few with officers that were being aggressive or letting you know that they don't give a damn about your life if they choose to be the worst version of what we all know things can be here in America, for folk to come from out of the country to my town and act like what I'm seeing in these videos. And as you can hear the one woman say in this one video, she was like, and they still alive? Like, exactly, like.
Oh, wow. What are they fighting for? There's another breakout over here. Oh, this one. Wait a minute. Look at this shit here. Yo, this mug. And he's still alive?
You gotta understand why we are in shock, because we see the news reports or we hear the direct news from people who have grievance with the police because somebody was shot unarmed or somebody was beat down unscrupulously. No reason for that level of force.
Atlanta police say the problem started when a large group of young people gathered Monday night here on Hank Aaron Drive. Video posted on the Georgia Followers Instagram page captured some of what happened. At least 4 people were arrested, including the young man with a backpack, who appears to be shoved and ultimately kicked by a group of APD officers. One prominent defense attorney says the portion he can see is alarming.
Not knowing what occurred before he went into the street, it is clear he was not being aggressive. He was actually retreating, and it appears that the officers just bum rushed him, knocked him to the ground. He got back up. They rushed him again. About 8 officers took him to the ground, and then you see one last officer excessively kicks him twice with his right leg.
These goons from these other countries, okay? And let's call it what it is, within the constructs, because that's all race is. because I know this is not just like that's not a reflection of this the goonery of black folk that y'all see on the news when they want to show the folk with their pants off their ass, being slammed on cars, being slammed on concrete, having these mobs of kids that wild out and the cops run in and beat them down and take them away. Why the funk is it when these white goons come here, soccer goons, fan goons, any kind of goons, and they get to act a straight damn fool in my city and can get on a plane first class and go back with maybe a few bruises, maybe a few scratches, and talk about how, yeah, we do it again. I'm sure they talking big shit. Why is this? I'm not promoting violence. I want to make it clear. But I'm just saying, for the shit we have to endure, for what we've been surviving, and if you want to speak of even more recent events, surviving 250 years of this type of persecution and expected ass whoop for no good reasons a lot of times, okay? And then somebody can come from a whole nother country and act a fool for the weekend, for a couple of days, and get back on a plane with nothing? They not being held? They not being inconvenienced to the max? I don't want to hear about the one or two because I know it wasn't enough for what folk go through locally. So I just thought I would bring it to your attention, because when people complain in America, specifically people of direct African descent, about the mistreatment, about the double standard, and about how, as they say, there's only one race with the cops, it's just black and blue. You can see these black officers defending themselves, give them credit, but at the same time, not coming together in the level of force that we see them do in other situations locally, right here. Let some out-of-towners come and look at the passive-aggressive, still aggressive, not aggressive enough compared to what you usually do. Very interesting. Very interesting. And overall, all this is bad behavior. That's the bottom stinking line. All of this is pathetic. These folk wild out so hard at Centennial Olympic Park. I can't believe I'm looking at what used to be grass. It's just a mud patch. And yeah, it's good to know that there was a good time still had by some. It's good to know that there were still just straight up parties and people enjoying the culture and the exchange of culture and the good times to be had in my city. I'm so happy to know that prevailed. But where it got ugly, man, talk about a cleanup needed. Talk about an adjustment needed. What y'all think?